Welcome back to Grid Gym Live, guys. We've got Kian, Ameli here, and really excited to have him on. We've been trying to do this for a while, and just like schedules just were not matching up. So this is fantastic. But in hindsight, what's really come to light about the really great thing about this taking so long to get you on here, Kian, is that your beard had just a little extra time to really tough out to where it is now. So really, I'm glad that it took this long. Otherwise, I would have missed out on this massive, just amazing thing that you got going on your face. How long has that been?
So my wife loves beard. So this has been since No Shave November last year. But I've trimmed it about 4 or 5 times, taken down the girth a little bit, just because otherwise I look burly. It gets big. So this has actually been trimmed recently. Probably within the last 3 weeks. And so, it's I think it's on point. It's at that point, when you get a new haircut and like, it just doesn't look so good, like for the first day or two, like beard is kind of that way too. So
I do wonder, like whenever, cause I've had a beard like that before too. And like when I shaved it, I was like, I wonder if it's almost do you just need to get used to it or does it need to grow out a little bit? I have no idea, but.
Like, as far as like the itchiness?
Well, that too.
Or like just Yeah. So I think part of it is, getting used to it. Like there's that terrible phase where it's like you're growing it out and it's like, this looks awful. It feels awful. I don't want to wear it any longer. And so I think that's kind of the big thing you got to think about. And then getting over it. Then you come to love it. The funny thing is, so my head looks about 6 inches longer now. And so when I shave this off, like I look like an emaciated child. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I know. A few years ago, I did No Shave November. Mine's like just like yours. So so I did No Shave November, and then I was like, I'm gonna do a December, and my niece came up. I was like, I got to figure out something because I don't really want to shave right now. I don't like shaving. And she goes, how about January? And I was like, okay, January. And then this naturally went into hairy February. And then I did daylight shaving time. But by that time, it was so disgusting and gross. I didn't brush. I didn't do anything with it. It was just like this big nappy mess on my face. And I'd ask Rachel, I was like, do you hate this thing? She'd be like, no. She's so positive about everything. So, but you knew that she was just sitting there like, that's gross. Yeah. But
yeah, there's a point where I think they need to be maintained. Like there's some people who can pull off like the down to here, like massive things, but that's a lifestyle in and of itself, I think. So, yeah.
When I did cut it off, though, I remember being like, what happened to my, this is so big and I have no chin. I have no face. It's crazy.
Yeah. The funniest thing to do is to do an inverted beard. So you shave this off first. Next time you shave it, try it. And it's phenomenal. It's the best.
Sounds disgusting, but they do get kind of gross. There was days where I'd come home and I'd be like, oh my God, I have egg in my beard. That meant that I've had that since this morning. And I'd just be disgusted. And I realize everybody probably watching this is probably about ready to puke, but whatever. Got to smell breakfast.
Well, you know what? But aside from fitness, the second most amount of conversations I have are about beards. And then it always, gets to the point where like, don't you get stuff in there? I'm like, yeah, all the time. You just have to during the meal, it's not about taking stuff off your face. It's ensuring that there's no junk stuck in your beard. It's pretty terrible.
Yeah. No kidding. But well, Kian, tell the people a little bit about what you do, what got you started. So I need to back up a little bit. Kian owns a gym, and he's kind of similar to Grit Gym, kind of a little bit smaller, micro gym style, where he's very hands-on, very service-based with his clients. It's not like people just walk in and get to dally around the dumbbells and then go over and jog for an hour. He's in there with them. He's doing the workouts with them sometimes, I think, aren't you? I see you on social media every now and then running around with your peeps.
Yeah, I mean, I get into the coaching. It's never a thing where I'm actually doing the workout with them, but yeah, I get into the coaching pretty hard,
Yeah, that's not, yeah. You're actually doing the workouts with them, but
yeah.
But tell a little bit, what's your gym like? How'd you get started?
Yeah, so the genesis story, I guess. I was a homeschool kid. My mom was always worried about us getting injured in sports. So we never played sports. I loved, computer games and all that. So I kind of was a chubby kid. Went to high school. My best friend in high school invited me to play water polo. And I was, a chubby theater kid. And I put a water polo Speedo on and strut out onto the top, what was that, the hard top or whatever of the pool. And I'm standing there, and there are these tanned Adonis characters playing this intense space. And I look down at me. I'm this hairy, chubby, Middle Eastern dude. I'm like, huh, well, this is a change. And so that got me into fitness in the beginning. And so it was just for me. I got certified right out of high school, just for me. Like I wanted to do it for myself. It was a entry-level certification, the ACE certification, and didn't think I would do anything of it. Got my undergraduate in communication studies, was studying for the LSAT to get into law school, and I realized I hated it. I was doing fitness on the side. I said, I love that. So I went and pursued that, and started working with my mom. So that's how the gym got started. She was, she was teaching Pilates out of our living room when I graduated high school. And so she'd opened up a small 500 square foot facility. I came out with 0 clients because I honored our non-solicitation agreements. I didn't want to bring any clients with me from the gyms I had worked at, and built this thing up. And so now we're in about we have 2 spaces. One is upstairs. It was our Pilates studio, which is about 2,000 square feet, and we have a downstairs space which is about 4,000 square feet. Like you were saying, we do primarily group coaching. Our main offering is Training for Warriors, which is the international brand. So we kind of switched our model. We started off doing like hands-on, individualized coaching. And what I found was, doing the big groups, so our groups range from 3 to 20. That's where the energy is, and people love that as far as the training goes. And so that's really where our model's gone. So yeah, that's kind of the genesis to current time.
I think you're spot on though. I know a lot of people are a little insecure to do anything besides one-on-one when they first start, but if they can get over those first 2 sessions and figure out a way, and a lot of other gym owners and people in the industry scoff at small group training as if you can't be individualized, but yeah, you can if you have the system to be able to pull it off. But energy and the camaraderie and the everything, just they push each other up to this new level. Whereas one-on-one, it's like the trainer or the coach sitting there kind of kicking dirt and being like, so how about how about that game? They got to find small talk in between sets because people are huffing and puffing, and it's terrible. It's so boring and monotonous. Whereas everybody wins in a small group setting is they pay less money, they get a better workout. The gym owner gets probably a little bit more money. The time scheduling is better. I've never had anybody complain about small group training once they get into it. At first they're really freaked out, but so much better in the long run.
It is. And you know what? I think you might have run into this. We actually don't do any customized programming anymore. It's still offering it for some of our people, but it's a higher price point. And the reason we did that is, I would spend 20 to 30 hours, a month writing programs. And then I'm sure you've experienced this on a daily basis as someone comes in, oh yeah, I did this crazy hike yesterday. My calves are shot. And, it's whatever you had programmed is oh, that doesn't work with this. And you're changing it on the fly. With Training for Warriors and the system that we're running now, it's we have the template, and then it's okay, you 4, you can't overhead press. You're going to do this instead. You 2, you can't do this. And so we, change it as we go, and it allows the coach to really coach as opposed to being focused on, well, this is what the paper says, I should follow that.
Yeah, I still think that's still customized to a certain degree. It's just not as customized and as planned out from the assessment you did. So we do that same thing. We still have customized people that are on this super individualized plan, but most of the time there's only a few reasons why people they have a major health concern, or and they just need tons and tons of attention, or they're super busy and their schedule just isn't going to allow for it, or maybe they just know they're not going to show up if they don't have that appointment time. But that happens too. For the most part, it's just that huge health concern. Everybody else should fit into that sort of. We have the general template, and then we're going to figure out where you fit in best to that. If you're on that bell curve, the top of the bell curve, where you're kind of the 80% of the world, that's where you should fit into.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I have a few people, and sometimes it almost feels like they just want to hang out with you more than, and I love it, but more than get that training, because it's I'm going to pay just as much attention to you, if not more, in a group setting.
Yeah, your engagement as a coach has to be at an all-time high when you've got 8 people in front of you, and you've got to give the same amount of energy as you would at a one-on-one times 8. Yeah, you really figure out if if you're good at this or not. I think we've had coaches that work for us. It's like they very quickly figure out like whether they like it or not.
Yeah,
in that sense, because you got to go hard. It takes a lot of attention. It takes a lot of energy. So
it really does.
So your first introduction into fitness, into sports, into like being super active was, okay, for people watching this, that water polo is rated as the most physically demanding sport on the face of the planet. Like, and there's multiple, like almost like all water polo people agree with that. Anybody who's tried water polo agrees with that. Most science experts agree with that. It's the second one is wrestling, and football I don't even think makes the top 10. So like, to put that in perspective, like water polo is just outrageous. So you walked into a buzzsaw, man. Like
it was nuts. And I think so the game itself, I'd swam. I'd never swam competitively, and so I was a decent swimmer, but I still got my butt kicked on the swim. So I played senior year. I was on both the JV and the varsity team, and my whole role during the varsity games, I scored one goal all season because my entire team, we were playing the worst team in the league, and the entire purpose was to get me to score, which is kind of cool. But my goal during the games, I would just get my angry face on. I'd be like, shirtless, and I'd be just pacing back and forth. I'd just staring the team down, like just trying to intimidate them. Like, oh my gosh, are they gonna put the big hairy guy in? And so, and then I get in the pool and they see I'm terrible, so they had nothing to fear.
It's a super aggressive sport. If you watch, but if other people watching this, like if you guys go online, type in water polo, like try to find a video from under the water. And under the water, so they're not just swimming around really fast and trying to throw a ball into a goal. They're beating the hell out of each other. I mean, like ripping each other's Speedos off, like kicking each other. I mean, it's a brutal sport. So
it is. There's some video of I think it was in the Olympics where they were showing this, and there was actually a guy who reached into another man's Speedo and pulled his testicle off, like ripped his like opened the ball sack effectively. So Yikes. It was one of those like, huh, and the guy like passes out or whatever. I think the guy got like majorly fined or something, but
yeah, that's. It's amazing what we can do as sports. Like if it happened in regular everyday life, you get thrown in jail.
Right, exactly. But this is sports, so weird. Yeah. And then I went on to play competitive rugby, which was really fun, and that was kind of my game. I enjoy that still do to this day. So no.
Yeah, that's great. Not like I always like the people who are like sports are like life. And I'm like, no way, man. There's no situation ever where you could with football is the one where I always hear like football is like life. I'm like, there's never a time when I line up 50 yards away from somebody and run into them as hard as I possibly can. Like that would put you in prison.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they're the analogies, but you look at the actual nuts and bolts. It's like, yeah, this is war effectively in modern day. It's like how do we practice for war? How do we get that aggression out? The anger against someone, a fellow human. You can get that out in your sport in your activity, and then we don't have to go and shoot guns at each other and kill one another. So there you go.
Yeah, a little to go along with your day. Okay, like get into the health stuff. So you run a gym. Mm-hmm. What's your conviction? To me, you're the front line of health. You run a gym, you're the front line of health. Everybody talks about, they call doctors and nurses and hospitals healthcare. I look at that. I'm like, no, that's where sick people go. To me, what you and I do is the front line of health. So and health to me is the number one resource that you possibly have. Like you take away your money, your time, your relationships with health if you don't have your health. So that's mine. What's your, when you think front line of health, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, the famous thing, I guess, is like, hey, can you tell me what you learned in second grade? Like anything. Can you remember anything you learned in second grade? And most people say, well, no, not specifically. I can't remember exactly what, maybe I have these like vague memories, but hey, do you remember what your coach told you when you were 8 on the field and whatever? That to me is what is missing in health and fitness is, we have so many places that are just like smash you, destroy you, places. And that's not what it's about. It's about creating those moments. And in my situation for adults, and for your situation, I'm sure as well. Like I don't train youth. I help out in a local high school. And that's about it. That's my connection with youth. But how do I create those moments for those people where it's life-changing and memorable? So because again, like what do they have in their life? They have work, they have their kids, and the gym. Like that's kind of like for most people, that's about it at a certain age. And so how do we create this community, these people who bind together with one another? That's kind of like, to me, that's the most interesting part about health and fitness is that, like sets and reps, yeah, we do them. But like anyone can do that, I don't have anything against CrossFit, but that's kind of usually the whipping boy of the fitness industry. Because it's just like, hey, there's a workout on the board, let's go smash. And so the biggest aspect for me is the coaching, like is getting face to face, like getting dirty, like down, because there's nothing that the reason that you and me will never be without a job is because this watch, that app will never replace this, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like across the board with everything you just said. Yeah. To me, that's what it's all about. I spent, I don't know how many years, like thinking it was the X's and O's. It's the X's and O's. It's about, the how the shoulder blade moves on the rib cage, and is it 5x5? Is it 5-3-1? Is it like whose system works? And when it really comes down to it, what are we doing this for? We're doing it for the person involved. So and no one's going to get involved and really commit into what they're doing until they get the head game down.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I think, it comes down to is, it's the giving them a little bit of what they want in the training, give them that little burn. And then, what is it? You take down the energy level and then you up the physical or the mental energy tank, right? So you're taking down their gas tank here and then filling that gas tank. So when they leave, they're like, that was hard, but man, I feel ready to attack my day. Because that, like what you're saying, hey, we're the front line of health. We're not only the front line of health, but we're also the front line of progress, because where else is someone getting told like, hey man, I believe in you. And I am so proud that you were here today. Like your little girl is going to be so proud of her daddy when she goes home, when you go home and you tell her what you did and that you've lost this weight, and we have a lot of parents who bring their kids in and they watch and they're like, oh my mom does this. Like, that's so cool. And that sets the pace for the next generation. And we just get better that way. And so that to me is important. We're affecting that generation. And then also like one of my first bosses, I had a really hard time with sales. I don't know if you did when you first got into this. Yeah.
Awful. It just didn't make any sense. I was like, I'm just trying to help you. Why don't you just like, I'm just trying to help. I just have a big heart. And so it was tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my first boss, third boss in the gym, I was really bad at it, said, Kian, think of it this way. When you sell them on a $3,000, I was doing one-on-ones back then, a $3,000 packet, you are not selling them. You're not taking money from them. What you're doing is you're giving them the ability to ask for the raise of their job, the ability to quit and find the better job. Like that is what you're empowering someone with. And that was a huge shift for me. It's like, I'm not actually, the amount that we give in as far as confidence goes, physical ability goes, far exceeds the amount we take in compensation monetarily. Yeah. So, and that maybe it's just something I tell myself to let myself go to bed at night, but I do firmly believe it.
Hey, if you don't it kind of goes back to that. Like one of the things that someone said to me that really sunk in one time is like, do you believe in your product? Do you believe in your service? And I'm like, yeah. And like, are you the best? Or do you believe that that your service is priceless? And I was like, I absolutely. Like you could pay millions of dollars for this and it'd still be worth it. And then they're like, then you're the scumbag if you don't go out there and get people in the door. And even past that, it was, and I gave away everything for free for a while because I was so desperate and this is all I wanted to do. But nobody ever showed up. It was when they put their dollars on the table that all of a sudden they made this massive commitment. Is the weirdest thing. It's so counterintuitive, but it's like when you put your dollars on the table, they invested their time, they invested their energy, they invested their focus. It was this wild thing. It was just like, okay, so I'm actually doing a disservice to people if I give it away for free because they never show up and they never commit. And doing a disservice to people if I don't push out and talk to them about this and try to get them and persuade them and influence them into a healthier lifestyle. Because I think about it from like the mom or the dad. you know, a lot of people think that it's selfish to take that hour every day and go to the gym and then come home and be a parent. But like that's showing that kid courage. It's showing that kid how to live their life. It's giving so many lessons to that little kid, and you're a better parent because you did that thing. But like if you blame your health or lack of it on your kid, like what kind of, like that sounds selfish to me. It's like, what an asshole to blame. Oh, well, I'll get in shape in 18 years when this kid's grown up. It's like, I guarantee you that kid doesn't want to be the source of your not being healthy when they're older.
Yeah, they don't want to wear that guilt. And plus, you know, what kind of example are you setting for your kids? Right. If you aren't, like, you expect them to eat broccoli when you don't eat broccoli, you expect them to go to practice when you don't go to practice. Like, we have to hold ourselves to the same standards.
Yeah. If how could you ask them to do anything if you're not willing to do it yourself?
Yep. Like, which is what boils my blood almost even more about kids, is how, and you know what, like if you're, okay, I'm gonna say something that hey, may not be a popular opinion. So I have a 2-year-old. And we were eating dinner last night. She was eating broccoli. She was eating chicken. She was eating, some bread. And she had, great meal, full course. And then I'll always have conversations with parents like, oh, my kid doesn't eat like that. You're so lucky to have not a picky eater. And you know what? Like, she wasn't always that way. Like, I would never feed her Kraft mac and cheese. I would never feed her these things. Like, they just don't show up on her plate. And I think, this is not parent shaming. This is not saying, but hey, you have to demand your kid, like, this is what is for dinner. Like, like there's always the outlier kid. Like, I have a buddy his kid will only eat peanut butter. Like, literally 90% of his calories come from peanut butter. Like for dinner, everyone's got their chicken, broccoli, whatever it's going to be. And there he is sitting with peanut butter. There are those cases, but like you're saying, we are responsible for our kids.
No, that sounds like bullshit to me. That's like a bullshit justification. Like the maid, and I don't have kids, so I can't really say much here. But at the same time, like, how far would you allow this to go? So, like, the way that we were, like, what my parents did, what was put on the plate or what was put on the table, you had to eat. You had to eat at least 3 bites of everything, and it wasn't optional. It was just like, well, that's what you're gonna do. And so one of the things that goes through my head is like, who's the parent here? Who's in charge here? Like, and where I grew up, like, at the time I didn't really like it very much, but I'm really thankful for how hard and strict it was now.
Absolutely. Yeah, but, you have to lead your kids in that situation where it's like, if you let them rule your family, like, they are integrating into a pre-existing family. Like, yes, you're going to make concessions for them, but like, they need to learn the rules of what do you expect out of them, and kids thrive off that.
There's this really interesting thing happening right now too, and I mean this in a very loving way, but the whole idea that you get whatever you want whenever you want, like at some point you lose me.
Yeah. I mean, like using that example last night, my daughter, like, Eden, she wanted a banana. And, I'm not going to hold, like, no one, like, I give her personally unlimited fruit. Like, she can eat as much as she wants, but for us, fruit is dessert, and so we teach her the order of the meal. And it's like, well, Eden, you may have banana once you've eaten some broccoli and some chicken. So she goes through that, and then she eats the meal happily for 20 minutes and then looks at me and says, can I have some banana? And it's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, this is the time now. So, like you're saying, you shouldn't get what you want when you want it all the time. Like, that's not life, and that shouldn't be parenting either. So
yeah, I hear a lot of the like, my kid would never eat that. I'm like, whoa, I guess at some point you will eat a rotting carcass if you're hungry enough. So, like, you serve what you're going to serve, and eventually they're going to give up. I guarantee you, because like, anything tastes good after a while.
Absolutely.
Not very many people have been in like a starving situation where they had to cut weight. Like, I was in wrestling for I don't know, from time like, I wrestled all the way to college. I don't know, like maybe 10, 15 years, something like that. So there's times when you don't get to eat the way that you want to. And I remember having times where, like, I would have eaten anything. I mean, I remember seeing a food in a garbage bin one time and being like, oh my God, that strawberry on top, like, I would totally eat that right now. like if you're hungry enough, anything will be appetizing. So absolutely. My kid will never eat that. Oh yes, they will.
Yeah, they get hungry enough, and also it's an exposure thing. If you show them broccoli 3 times in their life, the science has shown it takes a minimum of 15 exposures for a kid to become familiar with the food in that specific form. So if I steam broccoli versus chop it up, those are two different forms in the kid's brain. So I got to show them 15 exposures of chopped broccoli and 15 exposures of whole broccoli for them to actually accept it. That's 30 exposures to broccoli before they actually develop a palate for it. They may come earlier, but it's 50. Like that's got to be the number for a lot of people. So, and I see somebody go like, I tried that how many times? Twice, you know. So.
Well, and it goes the same for you too. Like that goes right back to the, if you're not willing to eat broccoli, how's the kid going to eat broccoli? If all you do is sit around and eat Kraft mac and cheese, well, your kid's going to eat Kraft mac and cheese. It always starts with you. Like, you're the parent. Like, I would imagine one of my biggest kind of like fears around the whole having a kid thing is like, this little kid, I'm going to see all the good and all the bad of me just thrown right back in my face through this little being that I'm about, that is, you know, that I'm created. Well, that I didn't, but she did. And that part is, it's wild to think about, but also terrifying to me. I'm sure I'll get over it at some point, but we'll see.
It's horrifying and hilarious simultaneously, because it's like, you know, you'll be having an argument with your partner and then your kid will do the exact same thing 2 days later. And you're like, oh, shit. Yeah, I do do that. I'm so sorry. Yeah. You know, it's the best mirror for behavioral change. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, that's why I tell Rach, I'm like, 2 little girls. Like, that's it. Like, if we have kids, it's got to be 2 little girls. And she's like, you know, that's up to you, right? And I'm like, nah, you're the one who touched it last. 2 girls. It's got to be. We don't need more Adams. We need more Rachels in the world. So, but it would be interesting. Although it probably doesn't matter, because like if you look at my family, almost exactly like my mom. Like, just 2 super stubborn. It's like when we get in a fight, it's like when the whole kit's Superman. So. It's not super violent. It's just like who's backing down first.
Right. And of course your mom is Superman in that situation, right? Yeah. I guess she's Superman's the stronger one. I don't watch a whole lot of comics. Superman's the stronger one in that situation, right?
I think so. They're from 2 different universes. So like one's DC and one's Marvel. So it's kind of hard to, you know. But Janet, for instance, like, she's pretty strong. She said that she wanted to pull 260 by 60. By 60 years old, she wanted to pull 260 pounds off the floor. She had done 255 3 times a few years ago, but in the meantime, she had torn meniscus from just being on her feet as a nurse for 35 years or whatever it's been. Wow. So she wasn't sure if she could ever get back to that point. So and about a month ago, she pulled 260 for 6, I think. So, and she's a little tiny lady. She's like 5'6", maybe like 130, 140 pounds.
That's incredible.
Yeah, she's a fucking freak. She can do like 3 chin-ups, body weight. She's just nuts. Like, we're both nuts. Like, it's a blessing and a curse. But yeah. Yeah, the parenting thing sounds very interesting, and from that standpoint of, you just are probably going to end up learning a ton about yourself just by being a parent.
It's the best, and you know, it's encouraging too, because it forces you to think like, okay, if my daughter is going to mirror my behavior to a point, obviously she's going to develop character on her own.
Right.
What behaviors and habits do I want to show to her so that she sees, hey, you know what, my dad does this, I should probably do that too. And so if it's bad behavior and bad habits, she's going to mirror those. And if it's good behavior, good habits, so it's really nice for me, because then it's like, oh, you know what, I've been, you know, slacking a little bit on my lifting, and you know, she comes and she works out with me a lot, and she sees, you know, hey, this is what we do as a family, we lift. And so she'll like, when we do chin-ups, you know, I'll put her on the bar and she'll, you know, hang on for as long as she can, and then, you know, drop into my arms. And it's just, you know, those kinds of things, I think really do reveal, again, it helps you develop who you want to be, as long as you take that opportunity to do it and don't say, oh, I got to just pour everything to my kids. And like you were saying, it's the most selfish thing to not take care of yourself for your kids. Yeah. If you don't, like, what example are you setting? What kind of life are you living? How are you doing it? Yeah. From every angle that I look at it, I'm just like, everybody wants to call it selfish, but maybe it is like selfish in a positive way. Like, like to be that way. But I couldn't agree more.
What's that?
Oh, I just said I could not agree more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Kian, anything else that you want to leave the viewers, the words of wisdom, thoughts to live by?
You know what? Thinking about this, there's a great book by Og Mandino that I've been reading for a while ago. It's The Greatest Salesman in the World. Have you read that one?
I have not. No.
I'd recommend it. It's a short little parable book. It's kind of corny, but there's a chapter in it that talks about what's that?
I said parables many times are. They're like sometimes just like really cheesy stuff.
Yeah, and it's set in this kind of biblical times. But there's a part in it, and it says, all men are slaves, and probably talking about mankind as a whole. So all of us are slaves, be it to impulse, be it to desire, to wants. But the greatest slave owner we have is habit. And I think the biggest thing that we need to focus in on is if habit is our slave owner, we get to decide which habits we install as our owner, right? So if we are being owned by habit, and we are a slave to habit, let's choose good habits. And so that's been like bouncing around in my head man, what habits? Like if I'm going to be a slave, and really thinking about like, hey, I am doing everything that this habit demands of me, and thinking about that slave owner relationship. What owner do I want to have? Like, when I approach the table, what habits do I have? When I approach the dojo or the gym, what habits do I have? When I get, to my book, my reading, my TV, all these things, like look at your life. Like 99% of it is habit. Like there's very little creative process that goes into it unless you're doing it consciously. And so that would be my last, like the big thought that I'm working on right now is who do I want to be beholden to with habit?
Yeah, I like that a lot. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, on a topic similar to that, where I was basically saying like, no matter what, you're going to be influenced along the way. Like you're going to get a brainwashing, and if you're going to get brainwashed, do you really want it to be like CNN, Fox, ABC? Do you really want it to be the TV and the media, or do you want to control the brainwashing? Like if I'm going to get brainwashed, I want to control my brainwashing.
Love that's a really great because brainwashing looks that's interesting. Like slavery can be a loaded term, especially now these days. And so sorry,
everything is on the table for being offensive in today's world. It's amazing. Nothing is off the table in terms of being offensive. It's unreal.
Yeah.
So I watched a video yesterday about this woman that said that she found cotton offensive. I was like, cotton? Like the shirt that you're wearing? Yeah, she was livid about it. It's this video that's gone viral on here. I'm just like, you're stretching. You're really looking for something to be pissed off about.
Yeah, I can see that people take things just a little bit too far. I'm all for like standing up for rights, standing up for people, standing up for everything. But when it gets to the point where you get mad at inanimate objects or whatever, that kind of is a bit too much.
Yeah, not that you take things personally offensive. Yeah, anger just doesn't belong in that department. But anyway, what were you going to say? I kind of started a whole nother topic that we shouldn't go off on.
No, I think it's a good idea. Yeah, couldn't put the kibosh on that one. I don't remember where I was going. It was probably the most important thing I was going to say on this whole call, but
Oh, well, in 20 minutes when you think of it, just come into the comments and put it in there.
Yeah, I will definitely do it. Yeah. Oh well, it's gone. But yeah, I think just deciding. You had said something really poignant, and I wanted to jive off that, but that's all right.
Sorry, man. I probably messed it all up. Took your $1 million deal.
No worries.
Where can they find you? Where can they follow you? Like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? What do you got?
Yeah, most of it is my first and last name. So just Kian Ameli. Super easy to spell. Phonetic, just do it like that. No, it's KIANAMELI. Or easier is TFW Concord, CONCORD. That's our main offering at the facility. And so most of our social media is under that. And you can kind of check out what we do. Just as a plug, I love what TFW has done for my gym as far as like profit centers go. And then also for my students as far as results go. So if I'm allowed to give a plug, I'd say, hey, if you're not near Grit, then go check out, if you're near TFW, go check out a TFW because, the system that's being run is the same system. It's it's the coolest thing ever. And so, the philosophy's there, the coaches are there. And so that would be the only plug I would have is go check it out.
I really like everything that they do. They're absolutely fantastic. Extremely similar model. I could probably buy into the TFW stuff. I just haven't yet. So maybe someday.
Yeah, if you want to talk about it, I'm actually, I talk to a lot of people about TFW. So if you ever want to chat, you can just hit me up and we can jam on that for as long as you want.
Awesome, man. I just may. But all right. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it, man. Take your time out of your busy day.
Oh yeah, of course. I appreciate having the opportunity to speak to your audience and jive with you.
Thanks, man. All right, I'm going to end the broadcast. But, guys, go follow Kian on the social media stuff. I'll tag him in the headline up above. But thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. We'll see you later.
All right. See ya.